Hello everybody, today I'm taking the channel out of Norfolk for the first time, venturing into Suffolk, just south of Lowestoft to the village of Kessingland. This walk is called Countryside and Cliffs of Kessingland. I found it on Visarando. It's a circular walk and it's just over 7 kilometres. The walk starts and ends here at Beach Car Park. I am not working from a map today, I am simply working from good old-fashioned instructions, so hopefully I'll be able to keep up with them. So the first step is to take a left out of Beach Road car park and then go straight onto Marsh Lane on the left. Yep, so this is almost immediately as you leave the car park, you take a left onto the pavement and then a second left straight away. So you pass a few houses here and then Marsh Lane becomes a footpath, and I'm looking to rejoin another path on the right. This is already a bit more wild than I was expecting. I'm wearing the same shoes that got wet at Hunstanton, and they're getting a little bit holy on the toes now. Hello, Mr. Toe. So I'm guessing when it says rejoin another track and keep right, it's got to be this track that comes to meet us, and we're going that way. I think the car park is there, so yeah, we've done a little bit extra. So now we've got to go past a sewage works. I'm sure my nose will tell me where that is. And then we're continuing on past a private fishing lake. This is a very charming little path between the trees. Oh. There are a number of brambles hanging down that are assaulting me from time to time. Big bully brambles. And the path continues. At least it seems to be opening up a little bit now. I'm actually wondering if I've got this slightly mixed up, because it said the path goes behind some houses. Well, when I took it as behind earlier, I was actually alongside. Now I'm behind some houses, so I reckon this might be the rejoin the path on the right part. So this is the path that I'm joining, and that is where I'm going. And as you can see, public footpath indeed, but no fly tipping. This fence looks much more like sewage works. It's got a bit more industrial now. I believe there is a drainage ditch behind these bushes here. I can smell the sewage works faintly, so I know I'm on the right path. It's all about keeping an eye out for that private fishing lake now, and then I can have a look at the next step of the instructions. It's a lovely mid-September day. Sometimes this can still be summer, but with the wind today it does feel a bit more autumnal, but at least we have some lovely sunshine. Now I'm at the back of the sewage works, my nose tells me so. Turned the corner, still running alongside the sewage works, and the track stretches out in front of us. Can smell that lovely smell of freshly cut grass. So the sewage works was quite a sizable site, so I'm still waiting to see that private fishing lake, but I'm sure we'll be there soon. So this path has got a lovely twist and turn through the countryside, and every now and then you can look out into the fields and see something a bit different to path and trees. Still managing to get us sorted by some of the undergrowth, but thankfully it's nettles now and I've got trousers on to protect my legs. Because I do tend to normally wear trousers, I don't really go out in my underwear to walk. That might look a little bit odd. At the moment the path is quite clear to follow, because everywhere that you can't go is obviously fenced off, which is handy. Right, I've now passed that private fishing lake, it was off to the left, so now I've got to have a little look at what the next step of instructions is. So it says that the path now continues through open countryside, and I've got to go straight over 2 cross tracks which are staggered apart from each other. So that's what I'm keeping an eye out for at the moment. I think once we get around this corner it's going to open up a bit. Yeah, there we go, nice open countryside. These are the sort of walks that I love to explore, the ones where you get to public footpaths on open countryside that not everybody gets to see, that you can't see from the road or anything. It's really a good feeling. This is Ben Acre and Kessingland Flood Management Project. A building something. I can see some diggers right over in the background. Probably can't see them on this camera though. The temperature is pleasant. The wind is sometimes making it feel a little bit cool, but overall very nice. Still comfortable enough to do a walk in 2 layers at this time of year. I've come over the hill and this is now what I can see from here. Really quite spectacular. You can see the wind turbine there. I remember an old drummer, every time we drove past it, proudly declaring, "That's Gulliver." You can also see the church over there, right in the background, and I think we're going to end up passing past that at some point. Kessingland is a lovely area, and it's not really tapped into that much, so I'm a tapping. Quick look at the view behind. Really, this walk covers quite a lot because I think it takes in all this countryside, a church, a beach, some cliffs, so there is a lot on this walk. I get a feeling it's gonna get a high rating today. Maybe I'll be a bit petty and knock a point off the assault by brambles. Maybe I'll forgive it. We'll see how the rest of the walk goes. You'll have to stay tuned to see what happens. You often hear so much about the Norfolk coast, but there is so much beauty on the Suffolk coast as well. It can't be forgotten about. Right, so this I believe is the crosswalk. If I've been paying attention, it should be the first crosswalk rather than the second. And although it looks really pretty down there and pretty interesting up there, I think I'm supposed to go straight and go over a second crosswalk, which is fine. I get a feeling the longer I continue along this path, the more I'm going to see. I reckon that other path off to the left must have run over some marshes. It looks, probably looks a little bit silver on there. I think that's some sort of bridge perhaps, so yeah, route over the marshes. There is a lovely looking footpath that way towards the sheep field, but it's no pedestrian access at the moment due to construction, so wonder what they're going to do there, because it's going to change a lot of the natural look of the environment here. I would imagine it might be to do with that flood protection though. There's a few flies around here as it's getting a little bit wild again. You know a walk is good when it makes you feel something, when it makes you feel a freshness, an excitement, and you know, just something different to your everyday life. Must have been walking for about a mile now. I'm happy if this scenery continues for all of it, but I know at some point it's going to change. One of the sad things about autumn is that we start to lose these guys. Without bees pollinating the plants and trees, we wouldn't be able to get enough oxygen to breathe, so obviously they're crucial, but somehow we cope while they're all asleep or on the cycle of death and rebirth through the winter. If there are a few glitchy bits in this video, I just want to explain to you what's been going on. So when I edited my Hunstanton video, I noticed that at the end of some of the clips there was like a digital glitch noise, and I tried re-uploading the clips when I was editing them and I just couldn't get rid of it, so I ended up having to cut some of them. So you might notice a couple of the cuts in the Hunstanton video stop a bit abruptly. So if that's the case here, you know what's going on. I'll always be doing my best to edit the videos to the best of my ability, but I have the equipment I have. So it may be that some things are cut, or I even recycle some footage and do an extra voiceover just to try to make it blend a bit better. So I've come to video editing with no sort of previous experience of it, and I had to start doing them for the band to save us a little bit of money. So we decided to edit some videos ourselves, and then I thought, well, why don't I do some YouTube stuff to keep me busy? So 2 channels later, 228 subscribers now, and one on this one, it's only got 5 at the moment, but we are in very early days. There's like 200 videos on the other channel, which is more of an F1 gaming channel, but I have incorporated a little bit of adventure into it. But I'm very much enjoying doing it because there's big spaces of time where there's no gigs going on and the band hasn't got the budget to get itself out there. So Can fill that time with coming out and doing these simple videos, or doing some videos at home if it's the other channel, and yeah, it's very fulfilling. So one thing I would say, if you're thinking of doing YouTube, just give it a go. You know, if you try to edit a video and it's a total mess, nobody's forcing you to upload that video. Just keep trying until you've got something that you're reasonably happy with. Right, I think we're now coming up to the second crosswalk. Actually, I'm not so sure. I think it might just be a natural sort of gap created by trees. I mean, there's a walk coming from that way, but there's nothing really going up that way, which makes me want to err on the side of caution here. But the cross tracks are more of a waypoint. What I'm actually looking for is the path to become a tarmac path and then rejoin the main road. So I think it's all straight until then, so I can't really take a wrong turn, he says. I'm absolutely loving this walk so far. It's simply lovely. I think the fact that it's somewhere that I've never walked in my life before as well helps. It's also fresh. I think some things are dropping off the trees now as we get into autumn. They look to me a bit like mini apples. Not mini apples. It'll be quite a while before I can afford to go there to walk. So now going past this gate, and then the path winds around the edge of this field, and eventually we're heading towards that church. Right, so as you can see, here is the point where the path turns into tarmac again, and then it's going to rejoin the main road. I'll be honest, I'm not looking forward to having to shoot some walking videos in winter. Going to be a fight against daylight and a battle against cold temperatures. Continuing allows you guys to see different places at all different times of the year as well, not just the sort of summer when it's looking glorious. There's beauty to be found in all seasons. I don't want to talk it up because there's 7 stages, and we're still at the end of stage 1 at the moment. But the directions on the website have been pretty good so far. So stage 1 was really long. Stage 2 is literally cross the road, turn right and walk along the road to the church. That's stage 2, and then we're straight on to stage 3. And the church is only there. So the equivalent of stage 1 is how long it takes me to wake up and get showered and get motivated in the morning. Stage 2 is how long it takes me to scoff a chocolate bar. Now approaching a built-up area again. And what a view back that is down the hill. Quite spectacular. I've come a bit higher up the hill now, and now I can see all the way back from where I've walked, and I'm sure that's out to sea I can see, and it looks like there's something big on the horizon. I'm going to zoom in. It could be that my sense of where the sea is totally warped, and that's something completely different entirely, some sort of big building. But it's pretty massive. I think one of the things that's so awesome about walking in the countryside is sometimes when there's less to see, you see more. I hope that makes sense. It makes sense to me. There's another footpath there around the back of the church. Just seen some dog walkers on it, and not the way we're going, but shows the infinite possibilities of exploration here. Still haven't reached stage 2 yet. This is a very long time for me to get up and wake up. But we are now very close to the houses and the main road, and that will take us on to stage 2. Right, so the end of this path is called Cooper's Lane, and we're now about to cross the main road. So that's it, we ended stage 1, and now stage 2 is done immediately, and I'm going to look at my instructions for stage 3 now. So just before we get to the church, I've got to take a left, and it's a path past the industrial estate, and I'm looking to eventually meet up with Lloyd's Avenue. There's a lady on a horse coming down the road now. It's good to see all the traffic being so respectful and slowing down to not startle the horse. Although of course, when the horse can do as much damage to somebody's car as they can do to the horse, I think that does make the decision to be decent a bit easier. Right, so here we are at the church. This is St Edmund's Church, And the footpath by the industrial estate must be this one. So this path joins Lloyd Avenue, and then that stage 3 done as well. So having seen the first stage take a long time, the rest of the stages seem pretty quick at the moment. From being perennially on the first stage, and quite happy to be, to now nearly halfway through the walk in terms of its stages. I don't know in terms of distance what that will be. Quite a lot of berries down here. I never know which ones are safe to eat, so I'm going to opt out of risking that one. And I've just seen a dead pigeon being eaten by flies. I know I showed you the dead mole last time, but that one's a bit too gory, I think, for this channel. I reckon a cat or a fox must have got that pigeon. It was bones sticking out and everything. Tell you, what is it with me and coming across wild animals that have passed away on my walks? It's like they know I'm coming and they're like, uh-oh. This is nature, isn't it? Death to beauty, and back again, and back again, and forth and back forever in a cycle. Here's one of your markers, so you know you're going the right way. I mean, I once had a friend who lived in Kessingland, and I used to stay at his house fairly often, 5 or 6 times a year for 4 or 5 years. But I never really ventured into Kessingland village itself, other than to get fish and chips from the chippy a couple of times. It really is quite lovely. I now have to keep an eye out for Lloyd's Avenue because I think we're about to join it. In fact, it's all staggered. It's there, and possibly it's there as well, yeah. So I think I'd better check my instructions before I do any more walking. Okay, so there's a T-junction at the end of Lloyd's Avenue and I've got to turn right there. Well, at the moment, it's not the end, so I'm pretty good, I reckon. And it's been all crossroads rather than T's so far. Ah, there's a main road up at the end there, so I reckon that must be the end, so that's marked out quite simply then. Got my headphones around my neck, but I've not actually listened to any music yet today because I'm so focused on where I'm going at the moment. Right, so I'm at the end of Lloyd's Avenue and I've now got to turn right and go past the shops and the school. And then after that, I'm looking for a left onto Clare Avenue. I think there is that chippy. There is that chippy I mentioned earlier. It was a bit set back, so I thought I'm going to be walking forever before I get to the shops and the school, but then there it was, set back. So we've gone from really wild to quite urban. I'm looking forward to seeing what the next chapter of this walk holds for me. So although it's urban around here, I don't find it particularly generic. It has enough uniqueness for me to be a fan. And again, top marks to whoever wrote the directions, because it's really been straightforward. It's not been like, you know, like you get sometimes when I'm like, huh? Really? That doesn't make sense and all that, as you've seen in other videos. This is really quite straightforward. Right, so now I'm turning left into Clare Road and it says specifically to follow the right-hand pavement. Right, so I've done as I was told and I'm on the right-hand pavement and looking out for what comes next. Follow path behind hedge and continue across field. I was also very lucky as I dropped my phone, but I managed to stretch my foot out and stop it hitting the ground. So between that and my case, I can still film. That's lucky, isn't it? That's a very rare moment of clumsiness for me, but it can happen to anybody. I fully expect that once I've been through this bit of countryside, I'll eventually come to the cliffs that are part of the walk title. So this looks like a pretty straight path. Not the most easiest to see, but I think it's pretty clear that you just carry on walking forward from the way it enters, back to the adventurous scrambles through parts of the world that not everybody sees. This is the sort of stuff that I love. And the urban part didn't last for too long, which was handy. I think what sort of happened is we went out from Beach Road, we looped around one side of the village, came back in, went through the village, now we're looping out the other side, and I guess we're going to then do like a sort of semicircle there before we return to the start point. This path is just about make-outable. So I am looking for where the path hits the T-junction and I've got to turn left. Apparently if I want to shorten the walk by a mile, I could turn right, but as usual on this channel, unless specifically planning for the shorter route, I'm going to take the longer one. It's a bit weird because the path, when you get to here, it suddenly disappears. So I'm going to tread very carefully, but I'm guessing this must be the path T-junction, and it says to take a left here and go this way. Now I have to turn right at the next path junction. The wind's picking up a bit now. I'm guessing that this must be it. I'm on the left hand side of the T and I've got to go down the leg of it. So I now have to follow this path down and ignore returning to the left with the footbridge. It's a shame because I really fancy getting eaten by the troll today. Trip trap, trip trap. But grandma, what big eyes you have. That's a different fairy tale altogether. We're looking over there. You can't really see on this. I can see it with my naked eye, but in those gaps in the hedge, you can start to see the sea a bit. I'm not going to zoom in and get some below average footage of it when I'm pretty certain I'm going to be getting closer and we'll be able to get better footage later on. So we will take that as it comes. Here we go, got to ignore this, but look. Trip trap, trip trap. The troll's on holiday, thank goodness for that. So what it said was ignore the footbridge. What it actually meant was, Andy, pretend you ignored the footbridge whilst being an idiot and pretending to play a goat. Bah. I shouldn't have made that noise. I can hear the Trolls Reserve starting to chase me now. I can hear all the rush hour traffic on the A12, and the beauty of it is that I haven't got to join it, because by the time this walk's finished, it's going to be after 6 PM. Another thing I won't get away with in the winter, finishing walks after 6 PM. A few more berries. They look like raspberries to my eye. But being on the ground, it's leftovers or something. I've always got a section in my videos where I reflect on something and think I'm really funny, like the Scottish accents in the Deering video, and now it's the Australian accents, wasn't it? I was too scared to do the Scottish ones. And now it's goats and trolls and sausage rolls. I haven't mentioned sausage rolls yet. I did have one for lunch though, so I will leave it up to you guys to tell me in the comments what you think of sausage rolls. That's our subject of the day. So I'm supposed to follow this path to a T-junction with a track. And although things change here, I don't really think that that's a T-junction. I think it's just field. So I'm assuming this is still part of the path I'm supposed to be on. The first stumbling block where the directions don't quite add up, but I think that's probably more in my mind than anything. These directions certainly haven't done me dirty so far. Well, I'll find out at the end of the walk. I mean, if I end up in Scotland, then, you know, they weren't that great. It's a long walk back from there. Looks like some kind of, I don't know if it's a drainage ditch or just a sort of natural boundary, but there's definitely room for potentially some water to drain into there during the rainier months. I do find that Suffolk footpaths can be a lot wilder than Norfolk ones. Right, here's the T-junction with the track, and I've got to turn right here, and I believe that's going to lead me to the cliffs and the beach. I think the beach is optional, but if it's close enough, we might as well have a little explore. The impression I'm getting, I've just tripped over a stone, excuse me there. So the impression I'm getting from my instructions is that it's going to be like a little T-junction again, and turn right to take the cliffs, which is the actual walk, or just go straight down to go onto the beach. So I don't think it's going to be much of a excursion, just to check out the beach quickly. So there's some little, what looks like holiday chalets off to the left, and there is the beach and the cliffs. Right, so I've arrived at the junction with the beach and the cliffs, and that is the way we have to go, but I am going to take a little journey down here. But as you can see, it's actually quite an adventure. It's not like straight to the beach or anything. I can see flooded marshlands and rabbits and everything down here, so it's quite a nature reserve. That's going to be a good exercise going back up there later. Wow, this is like a play park, really. And you can see Lowestoft there. That might be Pakefield, but it's all sort of part of Lowestoft, really. I've got to figure out if I can get across this marshland without getting my feet too wet. I don't want that to become too much of a theme of the channel. Plus the shock absorbers, that I call them, in my ankle are still a bit sore from when I hurt them slightly in Hunstanton. Maybe it's time that I stopped blaming Hunstanton and started blaming my age. Realisation is hitting home a little bit that I have an open-toed shoe and I'm on sand. That's going to be uncomfortable later. Right, so I'm going to try to navigate through these dunes, and typically looks like the wettest point is right here. There's no way I'm getting around that, so I'm going to try to walk around it a little bit. I'd get through it if I had decent footwear on, but I haven't. I'll venture along for a little while. If I can't find a way to do it, then I'll have to go back. And that's the way I've got to go back. This is a unique beach, and I love it for it. You can see all of the greenery along the cliff. I might try this path here, see if this will take me through the dunes. I'm not sure, but I have a feeling that when they look browner, it might be where it's wetter, and there is some brown stuff ahead, so just hoping it won't be wet, or won't be too wet there. No, this looks fine, as opposed to where there was water earlier. There's stone here. So we're through that part and we can continue our explore. I'm still not listening to anything. I have no idea why I put those headphones back on my head. Quite stony here, and I'd imagine that this part of the beach must flood when the tide comes in, but the stones are bone dry, so although obviously that bit around the dunes was wet, although I can't imagine, because this basically feels lower than the sea. Realistically, it's probably at the same level. I can't imagine that if, you know, maybe in the winter or when we have a lot of rainfall, I can't imagine it staying dry on this pit. It must all get wet at some point. So that would mean that I'm technically this far out to sea right now. Ah, it's so wild here. I love it. There are some parts of the coast that when you venture this far out, you have a risk of getting cut off, most notably around North Norfolk, around sort of Holcombe area. I think potentially places like Wells as well, but you're not going to get that here today, I don't think. I don't know about other days, so don't quote me on that other days, but I think today I'll be absolutely fine. Still wild bushes. This has almost like a desert kind of feel to it. I can see some big ships out there as well, but they're further off than the one that I thought I saw earlier looked. So yeah, I won't be able to get any decent ships on camera. I'm sure the ships are decent, they just don't look decent. Right, I think it's time for that moody, pretentious foot shot along the beach. And here we go, we've crested the shingle bank and we are at the sea. There's a like old or burnt out bush there. Do you know, I was arguing with myself saying, oh, that's so far away from the cliff. And then I went, don't be lazy, just go there. And I'm glad I did. Right, I think that's enough time sidetracked by the beach. Let's get back to the path. There are a few people about here, but not many. I think I've seen 2 or 3 the whole time I've been down here on the beach. So it's really quiet and out of the way. So it's really nice. I think mostly people bringing their dog on an adventure. And you guys know on this channel how much I love my dogs. And maybe it's time to say hello to one again. It's been a while. In fact, I think it was the first video I did at Pickney's Wood where I last had a guest canine appearance. It's funny how the toughest sand to walk on this beach is right up near the steps. You know, like, well, good, we say, 1/4 of a mile away from the actual sea itself. I must add that according to the walking route, the beach part is optional, so if you don't like steps, you haven't got to come down here, but it is well worth it. There is a bench at the top of these steps, and these are the views you get from the seating position. Tripped over again. That's not a bad view to get while eating your packed lunch. Bonus points if you see me trip over at the same time. I'm going to end up, after all these walks, with no ankles and just bouncing on my feet like a bouncy castle. So we're now continuing along the cliff path for a while. I think eventually it turns off and goes through some sort of garden. So that's where we're following. We're still on 5, step 5 out of 7, but I get a feeling the last couple of steps aren't going to be too long because this is sort of the last big attraction of the walk, I think. Can't really see too much over the cliffs at the moment due to the oh, there's an old wartime thing, maybe some sort of box, pillar box or something maybe. But yeah, you can't see too much at the moment due to all those bushes on the edge. But having said that, it opens up here and this is quite a magnificent view. And I can actually, with great zoom, see that burnt out piece of dune that I saw earlier. I just cannot keep the camera steady at that level of zoom though. Hard enough like this when I'm walking over bumpy ground. I do hope you guys are enjoying another walk with Mr. Gent Andy today. Please remember to like to the video. I do hope you guys are enjoying another walk with Mr. Gent Andy today, and please do remember to like the video and subscribe to let me know your appreciation. Subscribing is free and it really helps the channel out. And leave a comment as well, things that have stood out for you or something you think I've missed that I should cover next time I come to Kessingland. I'll be very interested to hear your feedback. It does say the walk is about 2 hours 10 minutes. I think I've already been longer than that, or it feels like it, or I'm coming up to that. So yeah, I would say, like a few walks on my channel, that it's been longer. I haven't stopped at a pub or anything today either. And it did say the 2 hours and 10 minutes was with little breaks and a moderate walking pace worked in. Well, my walking pace is pretty standard. I used to walk a bit faster than other people, but now probably about the same pace. So yeah, as I look back behind me to see the ground I've covered, it's definitely longer than 2 hours 10 minutes. I'd say maybe 2.5 or a bit more, although I haven't finished it yet. I also didn't type exactly what time I started, which doesn't help. I think I must have started about 3:30 and it's now about 5:30. But I'm relaxed, I'm not really counting. And I think that's the key with this walk. It is a nice relaxed walk. You don't really need to count time. You come here to forget all of that sort of pressure. Okay, so I think we're now starting to head inland, and it is around garden, not through garden. Guess what? I tripped over that. That's trip number 3 of the day. I've definitely had a nice trip today. So that's where all the trailers were. So I've literally come around the entirety of this big field. And I get the feeling that if you were to take the option where you shorten the walk by a mile, you'd probably miss all of the cliffs and beach bit, which would seem like a shame. So the garden I've just been around, I did see a peacock in the garden. There was no way I was going to be able to get footage of it because it was too far and the gap in the hedge was too small. But yeah, that was pretty cool. Kind of a bit disappointing how some things with funny names do get mocked a lot, and the peacock seems to miss out on a lot of that mockery, but it is a funny name. Now, while I was thinking innuendos, I've come to this cross path and it says take a left and then ignore the path that goes off to the right. So that's where we're going next. I think that'll probably keep us fairly close to the cliffs and the beach, actually. So you wouldn't have thought that so close to this sort of scenery is a really wild beach, and I think that's part of the magic of Kessingland. There is so much to it. So ignore that path and go that way. So I'm going to arrive at a track and then I'm going to turn right. So we're now halfway through stage 6, so just this other half and then stage 7 to go. And it's a bit wild again now. So here is the track, so I've got to turn right here and go this way. And next step is, I've just tripped over another stone by the way. Next step is soon after Ryder Haggard Lane, take a path off to the right. Left, even. I've just checked the map and I'm still quite a way away from the car park, so there's a fair bit still to do, and I'm running out of storage space. I've only got about 4 minutes of footage left that I can shoot. Might have to delete some of the outtakes, but not the ones where I fell over. They can stay in. There are some absolutely gorgeous houses down here. Must be a really peaceful life. Ryder Haggard Lane is the point for where it needs to turn off, but it's still a way away, I think. Right, so the road bends round here and there is a little lane down there. I'm going to consult my map for this one to find out where I am and where I should be. To be fair, this is Ryder Haggard Lane, so I think that might actually be the path I have to take. Right, I'm going to go for it and go down here. Makes sense. It's Ryder Haggard Lane and it's off to the left, and Ryder Haggard Lane goes inland, and I don't think we're supposed to be going inland. I think we're supposed to be heading towards the beach again. Do you know what? I think I've misinterpreted that. I think this was still the road. So shortly after Ryder Haggard Lane, take the path between the hedge and the fence. Well, there's a hedge there and a fence there, and it's heading towards the beach. It all adds up. We're going to go this way. So we now have to descend the steps onto the beach and then take it right. I kind of hope it's not as many steps as before, because my ankle's starting to really struggle now. My prayers haven't been answered as such, but it doesn't look quite as steep as before. Just a few more twists and turns. Having said that, these steps are a lot more level and a lot more easy on the feet than the other ones. I think I'm going to head to that main dune path ahead of me that I can see just a little bit beyond the first set of dunes, because I'm pretty sure that's the main pathway I'm supposed to be on. And now I have to continue along this path all the way to the promenade. I'd imagine it's still a little bit of distance to cover, but not too much now. We are nearing the end of this walk. Thank you so much if you've stuck with me for this long. We are very much into golden hour now. Well, I think that's a phrase they use for June, but it's pretty golden right now out here. Now I'm guessing that path up there is a promenade. It seems to me a little bit too soon to turn off, but it has to be right. So I'm going to go up there. I've looked at the map and it adds up. So I don't actually think I want to go up there, because that says on the promenade, so I'm pretty clear this is a promenade. And I could have taken that little path rather than the bigger path around there that I took, but it all adds up to here. And now I have to continue down here until a road meets the promenade, which is quite a way off, but then that will be the very home stretch. Just found this angle and liked it. That's the way we're going behind. And I was actually looking at those chemtrails up there. That's what I was going to film. think we're now coming up to that road part. So there's a war tribute here and a key worker tribute as well. Don't believe I've ever been here before, but now you can see the writing backwards behind me. And the next part of the walk is to go past the Sailors' Home pub on the way back to the car park. This being me, I can't resist a little trip into the pub for a hot chocolate, I think. Just the reward. I like this pub. I'll definitely come back here if my travels bring me this way. So sign on the pub door said no dickheads allowed. I took the liberty of coming in because I just felt like I might be able to avoid being a dickhead just for 20 minutes while I'm in here. Doing well so far. It is reassuring to know that they don't tolerate any silliness though. When, you know, if you just come in for a quiet drink, that's the last thing you want. The hot chocolate was £2.50, which is what I actually came in for. And then the crunch bar, an extra £1.50. That was just because I felt like eating more sugar. So it was a good price, and it wasn't so hot that you had to wait for 10 minutes to start drinking it. It was pretty drinkable. Lovely pub, very friendly, very welcoming. There was a border collie at the bar, perfect. Always catches me out how quickly the sun goes down this time of year. Just got this stretch left now and back to the car park, so just walking straight down this road. Starting to get a bit chilly now, so all in good time. So here's my thoughts on this walk. I've really enjoyed myself, like totally, and I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 because I think it's fantastic. Yeah, there's challenges, but there was every sort of challenge, every sort of setting you could find here, apart from like big city. Yeah, it's had everything, this walk, including a black cat going across my path, which I was too slow to catch on camera, unfortunately. One thing that has struck me here is the huge amount of fish and chip shops they have. And now we're coming back to the start point of the walk, beach car park, and that is a wrap from me today. And I know I usually talk for a long time about how the walk was, but you've seen it and you've seen how contented it made me feel, so I don't feel like I need to say an awful lot other than 10 out of 10, and you can see the reasons why. All it remains for me to say is thank you for getting this far and watching the whole video, and please do give us a like and a subscribe. Subscribing is free and it really helps the channel out, and feel free to check out some of my other walks I've done. This is the 5th one now, and I'll be doing quite a few more. I'm aiming probably to do about once a month, but if I can get more done, even better. So yeah, thank you for watching and take care, and I will see you guys soon.